You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers because we got a war of words going on between a couple of big-time Steelers personalities. Big time, well, one of them's a former Steelers player. He will walk into the Hall of Fame, first ballot, I would very much guess, and that's Ben Roethlisberger, who's never been shy with his opinions, particularly on his very damn good podcast, Footbahlin with Ben Roethlisberger or something like that. And he talked about the fact that Steelers tradition may be going down the drain and bad coaching is involved. Cam Heyward struck back at that, by the way. And look, we've chronicled it very in-depth in the last 10 days, the nightmare that's sort of Patriot-like, except Mike Tomlin's got this team with 7 wins. Still, somehow, some way, they've got 7 wins, but they should be 9-4, and we talked about that too. And in fact, let's see, the Steelers are still technically speaking, and let me just bring this up, they're still in the playoffs technically, which is amazing, with something called Mitchell Trubisky, and, I'm kidding, but I'm not. It might as well be something called Mitchell Trubisky. Boy, he's turned out to be awful. I mean, truly awful. But part of that, and I can't help but feel this way, I think it's in part offensive scheme. I think that's part of it even with Trubisky, because when Brian Daboll had Trubisky was actually flashing in Buffalo. So that's something to sort of keep in the back of your mind too, is the offensive coordinator situation in all this. So this is what Roethlisberger said, quote, "Maybe the tradition of the Pittsburgh Steelers is done." He said in an episode of his Footballin with Big Ben Roethlisberger podcast. The 41-year-old took issue with multiple aspects of the Week 14 loss. He started by picking apart the second half, which saw the team attempt to rally without a full host of timeouts. Before Roethlisberger retired in 2022, he played for Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin from 2007 to 2021. But Tomlin's past with Roethlisberger didn't prevent the former quarterback from targeting him. Well, remember I did the video the other day because Jay Glazer made the suggestion that the Washington Commanders might actually make a play to trade for Mike Tomlin, and some people think Art Rooney the second might not prevent that from happening, and that maybe Tomlin wants out. I got a little tidbit on that here, folks. And that's pretty interesting. Quote, "You can't afford in the second half of games to burn silly timeouts and to not have them late in the game. To me, that's bad coaching." He's not wrong there. He's not. He went on to offer his perspective on how the game should have been managed. Quote, "There's some feel you have to have in those situations because timeouts can be so valuable. As we saw in this game," he said, "if we have one more time out there, we get a completion. We can work the middle of the field. All you have to do is give Chris Boswell, a 60-yard chance. Give him a chance, he'll tie the game. I like my chances in overtime because they scored all their points early and the momentum has shifted." He may not be wrong there. Amid difficulties on the offense, Pittsburgh's roster has offered plenty of verbal and physical displays of frustration on and off the field. Roethlisberger seems to think the issue comes down to lack of leadership in the locker room. Quote, "Who is grabbing someone by the face mask and saying, 'That's not what we do,'" Roethlisberger asked. "Is that happening? Yes, you have guys on defense doing it, but you need guys on the other side of the ball doing it. You need someone to stand up in that room on offense and be like, 'Hey, this isn't what it means to wear the black and gold.'" Now, I will tell you this. I think he's absolutely right about that. I do. Mike Tomlin admitted Monday that wide receiver George Pickens' visible frustration on the field has become, quote, "a problem." Last month, running back Najee Harris vented about the offense, saying, There's a lot of stuff that goes around that you guys don't see. I'm at the point where I'm tired of this shit. Quote, it just feels like that something's been lost on this team, Roethlisberger said on the podcast. I felt that certain guys on the team aren't in it for the team. They're in it for themselves. Well, now some of the guys on the team are saying the same thing. That's interesting because it seems to me like that's a shot at George Pickens. That's what that sounds like to me right there. It just feels like something is lost on the team. I felt like that certain guys on the team aren't in it for the team. They're in it for themselves. That feels an awful lot like a shot directly at George Pickens. Wow. And so we go over to BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. There's more. When I left, I was kind of the last guard. Marquise Pouncey left the year before. David DeCastro left like those guys left, and it was like I was the last one there. Talking about leadership on the offensive side of the ball. There was such an age gap from me to everyone else on offense that there just wasn't that Steeler tradition passed down. You have it on defense, don't get me wrong, but you don't have it on offense right now. Wow. You're not, in my opinion, seeing the toughness on offense, and I say toughness in the sense of Steelers toughness. Like who's grabbing somebody by the face mask and being like, that's not what we do. That isn't happening. And yes, you have guys on defense doing it, but you need guys on both sides of the ball doing it. Because when you're in offensive meetings, when you're in offensive huddles, when you're doing that, you're meeting separately. You need someone to stand up in that room on offense and be like, hey, this isn't what it means to wear the black and gold. Well, on Good Morning Football, Cam Heyward struck back. Quote, Ben has an opinion. He's entitled to that, but I don't agree. These last two games have been rough, but the Steelers' way is about grinding it out. Doesn't matter what's going on. So there's plenty to be done about it, and their tradition starts by winning games, having good defense, scoring points. So hopefully we can adjust that this week. Man, Roethlisberger was there for a long time. A long time. So the fact that he's noticed that, that's pretty wild. The fact that he said he feels like it's a coaching issue, that's pretty wild. So we go over here to Steeler Nation, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago about Mike Tomlin, all right, and that Washington situation. So here is this is the Raymond Foster show. The topic of Mike Tomlin and the Commanders came up. Raymond Foster, who played on the Steelers' offensive line, now co-hosts a podcast with sports reporter Dejan Kojovic. I hope that's right. If it's not, my bad. On DK Pittsburgh Sports. He has been a trusted reporter in Pittsburgh for many years. He said he was surprised that fans don't take this more seriously, talking about Tomlin's departure. This is where it does get interesting, and I did not know this. I wish I would have known this when I made the video the other day because it leads even more credence to the rumor or what Jay Glazer said. Jay Glazer and Mike Tomlin's only... Now imagine this. Jay Glazer is Mike Tomlin's only trusted media person. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. They're friends. They hook up together. And Tomlin makes no secret of this. So he doesn't hide the fact that him and Jay Glazer are tight. When Glazer comes to camp, he's riding around in a cart with him. So he's riding around in a car with Mike Tomlin. Where Glazer is concerned, the one thing I've learned over the years is that when you hear Glazer say something about Tomlin or the Steelers, it came from Tomlin almost without fail. Wow. I mean, that is a big, big thing, folks. It really is. Quote, it's not like the Commanders have been coached really well for a while. I believe that Tomlin has football left in him. No doubt. He's 51 years old. he's probably got 15 to 18 to 20 years left in coaching. And if you're the Steelers, why fire somebody when you can get yourself a couple of really good draft picks for them? That's the way these head coaches go. If you look at the going rate, look at Sean Payton in Denver. He might be coach of the year. That may as well be Tomlin getting caught spray painting it at the top of Mount Washington. That is extremely interesting. That little tidbit about the fact I didn't know Mike Tomlin and Jay Glazer were boys. I didn't know they were kicking it and hanging out, and that's the one guy that Tomlin actually confides in. That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild, and that leads a lot more. That makes you think. And guys, this is what happens sometimes. You get owners or people around owners. In other words, the Krafts or somebody close, and Tommy Kernan, that whole thing, with Belichick, the mutual parting having already been decided. That thing going on. Adam Schefter back in the day with Denver and all that, okay? San Francisco, Denver. Certain media personalities just have a connection to certain ones and they're friends. Tomlin and Glazer, Tomlin would have said, hey, I'm from Virginia. Just throw this out there. Throw this out there and let's see if Josh Harris and Magic Johnson, let's just see if somebody calls my agent. And let's get something, let's just start conversating. Let's see what the response is from the public and from behind the scenes. That's a thing. And it's bad when you got a future Steelers Hall of Famer that's slamming the culture and the coaching. That's something ownership's going to be aware of and take note of. Holy crap. Our future Hall of Fame quarterback is throwing the team under the bus over culture and coaching. So then the ownership goes, well, has Mike Tomlin lost this team and this organization? Cam Heyward strikes back. He's defending his team, but Roethlisberger was just there. I mean, come on. I mean, he knows. He probably knows all kinds of people there. It's pretty wild. The Steelers are sort of in a chaotic, nightmarish mess all of a sudden. Of all these teams we cover on here, the Steelers have roared to the forefront of being in a total wreck. It's weird. I mean, you lost those 2 back-to-back games to bad teams and the wheels fell off. Yeah, the car's parked on the side of the road with all the wheels. It's jacked up. All the wheels are gone. Wow, it's crazy. Tell me what you think, black and white sports supporters. Is Mike Tomlin leaving? Is Roethlisberger right? Is Heyward right? I think the offense is a wreck. I think he's right about that. The defense, with the Steelers, they tend to figure that out somehow. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.